And if they're going to try, not to try to speak in group, it still doesn't pick up very well.
All right. Oh, last night?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
I couldn't make it. Oh, thanks, I didn't even know, so it's on the other side.
Yeah. Curveball.
That's right, so confusing.
Yeah, we'll get it all figured.
Thank you. I need you, definitely.
I,
It is.
likewise.
Miss Connie. How you doing?
Discount,
Say what?
like discount. Oh, you brought your own.
I brought my own. PC, yeah, he has his own.
Oh, Daniel.
Yeah, no, I left mine at home.
Are we recording?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Hey, how are you? Good to see you.
That's everyone.
Ready to go? Okay, welcome everyone. Call to order the Brewery District Commission meeting for Thursday, October 7th, 2021. Our next monthly business meeting is scheduled for noon on October 21st, Thursday. Our next commission hearing, November 4th, Thursday, 4 p.m. in this same room. Can we swear in the staff, please? Do you promise to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
You, Connie Torbeck, Assistant President.
You? Are we going to do a roll call,
Yes,
Connie?
please.
Yes. Does that come from you?
No. Since you're here, you can. Virtual.
Okay. So do we want to go down the order here? You want to start on the right for us?
Sure. Patrice Allen Brady, present. Matt Leisure, present.
Cynthia Hunt, present.
Jeffrey Pongonis, present.
Daniel Mather, present.
Vivian Infrani, present.
Great. First things first, approval of our minutes from September 2nd. Have we all had a chance to review those minutes? Any comments, additions, concerns? Can I have a motion to approve those minutes, please?
Can I just, my last name has a typo.
Oh, okay, we will work on proper spelling. Okay. Thank you.
Would it help you to know what that change needs to be, Connie?
Oh, yeah, I see it.
Okay, good.
That's in case you want to pick anybody, I guess.
Okay, thank you. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you. Motion passes. Anything in the public forum, Connie, or on to staff approvals?
Oh, we have no public forum.
Okay. In our staff approvals and recommendations, I believe we have one. Is that correct?
We had one, staff recommendation that was moved to staff approval at the business meeting. That's 723 South Front Street, so that has been issued. We could move to number 2.
Okay, so we'll move on to our new,
Oh, I'm sorry.
yes,
Did we have a motion for staff approvals? That's what you were saying?
we did that.
Did the minutes and staff approval?
Oh, staff approvals. Yeah, right. That's what I'm asking. Do we have some to call into?
Yes, beginning on page 4, we have 1, 2.
Okay, anything to discuss on those, or can we make a motion for those? Comments, concerns, questions? No? Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve the staff approvals.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
You. Motion passes. Okay.
Okay, and then when I was, and again, I got ahead of myself, the one that was moved to staff approval of the business meeting was 723 South Front Street. So the first application for review by the commission is 516 Meyer Place.
Got it. That is number 2 on your agenda if you're following along on multiple devices like me. Hi,
Hi.
how are you? Can I swear you in, please? Raise your right hand. Promise to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Thank you. And your name?
Jackie Davis.
Thank you. Connie?
Okay, and this is for landscape and hardscape and new storefront materials and new rooftop patio. So the application was moved to conceptual review at the September 23rd business meeting based on the information that the commission had at that time. The following comments were emailed to the applicant following the business meeting, and responses are noted, and then a revised drawing package has been submitted. So need a written acknowledgement of the project from the property owner. That's still pending.
That is still pending. We're working on that today.
All exterior materials should match the already approved materials for the facade of the building, doors, windows, paint, etc. And the reply to that is that exterior materials are intended to match the already approved materials for the facade of the existing building. Next comment, need to understand the detailed design of the stairway, more than just an example photo. And an enlarged stair plan and section 4 from the CD set has been provided. Need details of the proposed base for the ground floor patio. Need to consider whether such a blunt transition is appropriate. And so the response to that is existing stones have been incorporated at the front of the patio. The intention is to have the existing stones put back between the concrete patio and the parking. Keep a buffer between the two and provide the same aesthetics as existing along the whole source of the whole building front. The edge of the patio needs to be softened up. It should be treated like a landscape, and that was previously answered in the last comment. Provide photos of the roof if possible to show the context of the proposed rooftop patio. And those photos have been submitted. Measure drawings of the rooftop stair over stage or canopy, et cetera, will be required for the final approval. And those dimensions have been added to the roof. So based on additional information, except yet that the owner's approval, staff recommends approval of the application as submitted. The proposal appears to be appropriate for this particular building and this particular location, which is separated from the commercial district and from the residential district of the Brewery district.
Thank you. But this is Connie conceptual.
They did not submit it as conceptual. At the business meeting, it was discussed that we really didn't have enough information. It seemed more like a conceptual package. My view was just that with the information that they submitted after the business meeting, that it's.
Got it. So
sufficient.
you feel like we have a complete package here and
And you can act on it if you.
sure. Okay. Great. Well, you have the floor. Why don't you tell us what you're trying to do here?
We're really just trying to create a space for Navterra in that area to kind of go with the adjacent space, which is Vertical Ventures. And that's the purpose of connecting that patio in front of the adjacent space. The landlord has seen this package and provided some feedback on the stairs. So we had the stair rotated a different way. We rotated it out to try to not take up too much parking. So we lost like one spot, but rotated it so it's not in front of any other adjacent space, just for future development. And then just creating an open kind of atmosphere at that front, infilling the storefronts that is there with garage doors, so that can be opened up to the public in the patio. And then just creating a cool rooftop view of, downtown and the park at the same time. So
Great. Thoughts, comments?
So the rendering that's shown there on the bottom right, that would be adjusted to include the stone, is that what?
yes,
Okay,
that's correct.
okay.
So yeah, we would basically just move the patio back a little bit and relay the stone that is there. That is a look across the entire facade, so to soften that up.
Got it. That's, I think, included in the photos, this package.
Is it? It should be included in the,
I thought I.
revised
I
one.
uploaded the new one.
Maybe it's
Yeah.
page 7, if I'm reading this right.
I have one here.
7 and 8. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I just have a photo. I don't think I have that updated package, but anyway, that's fine.
Oh, I did that, sorry.
It's all right.
This-
I think we get the picture, and it's, I mean,
Yeah,
to be honest, it's a pretty raw area out there, so anything is gonna help, right?
But yeah, the stones were moved over in front of that patio wall.
Do you mind showing that?
Yeah, yeah. So where the stairs and then it's.
Are you bringing up that new package?
Do you
Is that
guys
what's
have a new
happening?
package?
Oh,
We're,
oh.
he gets confused too, that I. You,
That's 514.
over. You guys, okay. See it. Yeah,
There we go. Okay.
Okay, any other comments or concerns or questions?
I have none.
Would we like to make a motion?
Just,
Yeah,
you're
please.
Connie's verifying in the new drawings, all the changes that they said they were gonna make, they've made.
Yeah.
All right, then I'm fine.
Yeah, we got those in, by the deadline, and I thought that I uploaded the, made the new packet, but I didn't.
Not crisis. I just wanna know that you're verifying it.
Although maybe I uploaded it to HRC.
They'll have fun with it.
Yeah. Well, you know, this and the climbing gym are all a great addition to the neighborhood, so
Do we
I'm
need some materials?
happy about this. Are there any materials that we need to see on this, Connie, aside from the cut sheets in here? I think this is, for me,
They're all here. Yeah,
you know, it's sort of typical retail stuff, so I feel okay about it.
I totally agree.
okay, you guys are.
Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, can I hear a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have you want to formalize that a little bit? Motion to, can I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
All right,
To amend that, assuming that Connie has verified all the changes occur in the revised drawings.
great. Can I hear a second to the amended?
Second.
Second, thank you. Motion passes. Great, thanks, welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm so excited about your brewery. Oh my gosh. Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes, thank you.
Thank you.
For the next
We
application.
can't get excited about a new brewery in the neighborhood.
Agenda item number 514 and 518 South High Street.
Five 518, right?
Yeah.
Great. Good evening, folks. Raise your right hand, please. Can I swear you in? Promise to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Thank you. And your names for the record, please.
Mike Shannon, attorney on behalf of the applicant.
Brad Parrish, architect of record.
Great.
Jamie Overslake, applicant owner.
Thank you. Welcome. Connie?
So this is demolition of the existing building interior, previous building additions and serving parking lot, preserving the 1927 exterior shell, and the building site is located, I'm like that, you've heard that before, basically about the northern tier, and this particular area, the more height in a building is appropriate. So this application was conceptually reviewed at the August 5th and September 2nd hearing. Applicant has responded to commissioner comments at those hearings, including massing setbacks, revised exterior materials and finishes, screening of the transformer at the Blanker Pearl corner, and extending the blond brick upward on the south and north elevations. For that reason, recommend approval of the application, partial demolition and new addition, pending discussion of the proposed Lindsay 3003 windows and the maintenance of the ivy walls.
Great. Well, you've been here before. Welcome back. Maybe you walk us through the updates and revisions, and we can
That'd be great.
skip the things that we've went through in the past.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I think this is our 7th time back.
And we're happy to see you.
Yeah. That's
And
fine.
I just want to refresh your recollection that in addition to the architecture you'll be looking at, there are a few variances we've previously identified. Most notably, there's a height variance to allow the height of 79 feet. Secondly, there is a proposed parking variance. Under the current code required parking, it's 94 spaces. We're providing 68 spaces on site. You might recall that we provided evidence of a lease for 50 additional parking spaces.
It's a pending lease, as I read the justification, or as I read the note, it's not a finalized lease?
It's a lease that we've entered into and are comfortable with you making it a condition of approval for the variance. And finally, I wanted to point out that we are asking for the parking variance out of an abundance of caution because it can be argued under the code that the existing building is almost 14,000 square feet, and that would require notes. It has a deficit of over 100 spaces right now for what the code would require, only 16 spaces on site. To the extent that our variance is less than the existing variance that exists on site, there is grounds for administrative approval for variance. But in the event that that's not the determination made by staff, the easiest thing to do is commit to the variance conditions, and if it's not necessary, it would not go forward in our council variance.
Okay.
There is an existing variance?
Well, we requested the parking.
No. For the old building, there is an existing variance, or you're just noting the conditions?
Noting the conditions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Then the, I'm sorry, the question.
Is this just the variance that you put on your drawings and I mixed it or something because it wasn't part of your application? So you're saying if you want them to provide a recommendation on variance, but we didn't actually get that list.
Okay, I thought it would have been a part of our initial submission identifying those variances, but,
Well, you have to, every application, if it's conceptual and, you know,
okay.
you need to provide.
Well, I don't want to do anything that would stop the momentum that we have, and if you want me to submit those in writing for consideration separately at the next hearing, technically the board takes 2 separate votes, one on the variances and one on the C of A. So I guess I could save this discussion for the next meeting and
I think that'd be more appropriate.
submit the application.
Can I just add, thank you. You mentioned 2 so far, height and parking. Is there a third?
The third one is that bicycles likely will be parked in the garage, and that's a technical variance that there should be visible from a public drive.
Got it. Okay. So,
And I'm sorry.
no, please.
The parent variance, the reason we need this is a use variance to allow the residential units, i.e. the townhomes, on the first floor of C4 property. So it'd be a total of 4, 3 area variances and 1 use variance.
Got it. Okay. Connie, just for me, can you help me understand after, discussing this several times, why we can't discuss the variances today and or approve them?
It's not on the agenda.
Right, meaning the public wasn't made aware.
And we haven't seen the write-ups.
Okay. Okay, understood.
Have you submitted an application to your zone, your, whichever it is, your zone,
We,
BZA or?
we have a council variance application to be submitted. However, we couldn't get our one-stop shop meeting until today, so it's going to be submitted. Yeah,
So that's actually how it should go. Once you have that completed, then we get a copy of that, and then that's that one.
yeah, for the record, we can come back. We identified the variances with the zoning clearance staff as part of our due diligence. But this has been a work in progress, things shifting around. So we wanted to formalize the staff comments by doing the preliminary site compliance plan and one-stop shop. And they've identified these potential variances with an asterisk by the parking variance that they might provide administrative relief. And again, I would be willing to come back with the zoning application at next month's hearing.
Okay.
To not cause any confusion. Go against what staff's protocol is.
Yeah. Okay.
Now the important one.
Mr. Important.
Yes, without those variants,
Yes.
we don't have a project. So since we last spoke, I guess, a lot of the discussion was on that south wall, being the green wall, as well as sort of that south elevation, the centerpiece, and we did pull that middle piece up. I don't know if you can pull page 28 or page 28. That the flat elevation, next one. Right here, you can see how we pulled that cornice line, that line up to the fifth floor there. I think it really starts to break down the flat, which is really kind of nice. I do have materiality here today to review. So the majority of the upper building is that Terrell product, which is a terracotta product, which is this. This is the slate gray. There's a light gray, so it'll have a little tonal. So it's not going to be a monolithic across, but I think it's a really nice product for the upper portion. Pair that with a brick sample on the mortar that we plan on using. And then with the any kind of brick metal or metal that's in between the windows would start to be complement as well. We do have the window sample here, so we can pull that out and start the dialogue on there. Other than that, really the green wall on the south, we understand, we've done the Boston Ivy in a few locations, and we understand the seasons of Ohio and how it can show more. I think the integral color block on that face will help make it not such a block, dark, empty wall when it's not in full bloom. So I feel that's, at this time, kind of our response to.
Can you remind us about, I know we had a conversation about the window. I don't remember the specifics of the issues. Is this a different kind of window that's not on the approved list?
Yeah, this is a different kind of, this is a vinyl product.
Right.
Okay, that at the scale of the openings that we're really showing here. And so this is a window that we have used on other developments here in town. Most notably probably the Reach, the apartment complex.
In historic districts?
Nope, I've not used this window in a historic district yet. So.
Can you remind me, was this approved German Village as a pilot? Are we talking about pilot for this?
Yeah.
It is upside down. Yeah.
We can put it in our minds.
Can you turn around, please? Because the proportions and everything, I want to make sure that we get.
Right.
Yeah, and make sure that that's
This is the
outside.
other tiny-
Oh,
That's the inside
Yeah.
rotation, please.
Right.
They do have an option for a thicker, the style in the middle to be a little bit thicker. We're looking at the building, it was a little too thick in my mind to go up. This felt a little bit more portion of the overall scale.
We don't need another thing.
We don't need another thing, right? You have the frame and then you have the window, right?
So to answer your question, this was recently approved by the HRC in a affordable housing project on East Town Street.
Mhm.
And so I did not recommend this window. But, and my issue with biggest issue with it was, it has this frame going all around it here.
It feels like it's applied.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what you normally would see in a historic window, you would see the stiles and rails, and this, it would be about this thick. So what they ended up doing, because I was sitting there and they had it right there, and they had some trim applied to it. But the trim was like way out here, and so I realized that if you look at it from a distance, and you have the trim or the brick mold really close in here and not have it just showing too, it could kind of fool your eye that this is the styles, and
Mhm.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, but like I said, they had the trim way out here, so you have this thing out here, and it was like,
It's just too
it
much.
didn't work at all.
Okay.
So if there's a way for you to install it that way so that your trim or brick mold is right up against this, again, from the height, I think it can work. Do you get what I'm saying?
I think what you're saying is that the style, as you saw it, was too thick.
It's too thin.
No. Yeah, the full width is too thick and the individual little
What I started out,
applique was too thin.
yeah, what I started out by saying is this whole frame shouldn't be there.
Right.
But if the commission is leaning towards approving it as a test case,
Mhm.
if you look at it from a distance and you're looking straight at it,
Especially given.
Yeah, this black
especially given
frame's
where it's
really
gonna
not,
be.
yeah, that black frame's really not helping.
yeah.
That black frame has to be installed.
Well, yeah, this will not be installed.
So it can look like this is the width of this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so it
Yeah.
There we go.
Way better without that.
You don't have to destroy your.
But no, I think that's the misconception is
Yeah.
that black frame is really starting to,
No, but she's actually saying it should just be
this.
the width of that
That.
going.
So I would have to check with the manufacturer on what we can, what that detail
Yeah.
would be allowed
The strip is too small.
if I'm able to do it.
Right. You'd have to get some sort of material that's sort of.
Covers it over.
And the majority of our building is brick, so
Right.
you're talking about kerfing a brick,
Profile,
on the edge,
Yeah.
which, drives.
I'm worried,
Drive.
Daniel, that just the strip is too small.
And I still
For the
think it's
proportionality.
flat, but, that's.
I guess my question is, what's it intended to look like? What is the window?
I think you gotta have some heft to it.
A warehouse gridded system?
Yeah.
And if so,
Then it's more like that. It's more like
if it's thin, it's
Yeah.
more like that, because that would have been a steel window with 1 inch frame.
Yeah.
Like just a little
Yeah.
angle frame around it, glass, yeah, right.
So I think
Yeah.
that's what you're getting
Yeah.
towards.
And I would never say that this is okay for a single family house.
No,
But
But the
this is a
scale
new
of
building.
it
that
and your
we're talking
relationships here with single family house versus the 7-story,
exactly.
I mean, I guess in the townhome scenario on only time where you're adjacent to it, but up above, you wouldn't have that relationship.
about. Mhm.
On the townhome on the ground, floor, I guess you do.
We have, yeah,
Here.
So do we treat it differently on the ground floor or we don't? Right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna put this out there. You guys know this is not my specialty. I'm fine with this.
I think it's
I don't-
perfectly okay for the 3rd floor and above.
I agree with that.
It's debatable on the 1st and
I
2nd
agree.
floor, but
Hey, Brian,
It's a galley.
you know if the screen goes into that frame?
it goes within here in
Okay,
this.
so it's not gonna be a full entire.
No, it's only a half height screen.
How do you?
Does the screen slide?
It's
No, it's basically fixed. It's a fixed screen. Because really, these are ultimately, it's a single.
So-
Yeah, this top sash does not move.
Pick another window. And you don't want it to look too good for the rest.
we can't ask them to select a steel window, like a true steel window.
Even for the first floor?
Oh, we'll never hit energy
You
code.
don't need energy code, it's just exorbitantly expensive.
And
If
I-
you're
my
okay with
concern
this,
with-
we could propose something in a minute.
Yeah.
I think I could live with this above the third floor. I don't know about everybody else.
Third floor and above.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
I just don't know that it's the right thing for the first floor.
Yeah, the steel, I would be concerned about the there's a lot of humidity that's produced within a residential unit and condensation and moisture issues. So we have to be very cognizant on the first floor. I think what Jamie's going to show you is potentially another option.
This is our Windsor Bridge. This was a test case on a Rich Street project. And this is what we would propose on the first and second floor of the town homes.
Oh, that's actually what's being proposed. So that's
No.
not the first, second floor of the town.
No. This can be an option for the.
This could be the first, this could be the town.
And does
Yeah.
it come in this size?
That's 3 to 7, this is 1 and 2.
Okay.
Okay, you're already, okay, so,
Totally different.
all right, so let's
Sorry.
put
So
this
if
to
you-
bed.
if we're
Everyone,
okay with this,
everyone
then
generally,
let's
yeah.
discuss the townhomes. And, you know, they do come in the same color, so we're
Right,
not,
just
the
the-
color's not a
We
concern.
have to relate.
Yeah.
That's the challenge.
So as you can see, there's a little bit more depth on this, and I think it's more, you know, like the residential.
So,
standards.
I mean, even in the renderings, Daniel, I mean, this is starting to look
I'm
like.
sorry, I can't hear Connie. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Hold on one second.
We studied every inch of this Windsor window, and it's a good window.
Durham Village is directly across the street, so we feel it would
Yeah.
play well with the.
They wouldn't be picketing us. You were saying?
No, I mean, the renderings indicate, we're making a difference here, right? We're trying to show a residential, a townhome style application of window on the first and second floor here. That's the point. Yes? Okay. I mean,
I am too.
okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thanks for bringing it in. I know it's painful.
Yeah.
Thanks for ripping it apart.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. Demolition in the, okay,
Real time.
yeah, real-time demolition. Okay.
I'm gonna come back to building height. It's like-
So as far as, you know, anything else, I'll just take questions on any, you know.
Oh, is there
side-
anything else you want to highlight for us that came out of the last meeting?
I did. Already. Yeah, so, no, I think all the details are within the package, and I'll take your questions at this time.
I have a question about height, because I'm remembering and I don't think I remember the details. The height, and I know there was disagreement about what was appropriate height for this area with Commissioner Hugus. So we started where?
We started it. We were 10.
And we were 10 higher.
We're 10 feet lower.
That's
than
what I
where
was-
we started.
Okay, so we started at 78?
We started at
88.
88, and you came down to,
76 right now is at the roof line, and that's from High Street. There is a difference between High Street and,
okay.
yeah.
And the official zoning is for
65 feet.
65. So we're asking for 13 inches.
I have no issues.
I'm there, yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
no issues.
I didn't remember the 10. I was trying to remember the 10 and I couldn't remember where we
Yeah.
ended up.
Yeah.
All right. You guys okay? I know you're new, so. I'm sure you have strong opinions. You're okay? Okay.
Yeah.
I did have one question. So the very front of the building where there is the garbage can, is that what that is there? It's shielded by a fence. You can go to page 43.
Right in the corner,
Yes.
that'll be trans.
That's the electrical
It's
transformer.
electrical
right there. Yeah.
transformer. Okay, great. I was just wondering.
Trash is within the building.
Yeah,
Okay, I
that-
wanted clarification
I think
on
that's
that.
the back.
Yeah, that is the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're dressing that up for us, right? But that is the back.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, so,
This is the transformer and trash is.
great thing.
And-
It was inside.
Yeah, and
Or
those two,
just off.
those two things to the left, those two sort of facades are the townhouses that we're talking
Yes,
about.
right, yeah.
I do have a question about this elevation. What, and maybe I just didn't notice it before, and I apologize. There's a break between the two townhouses? Little relief?
Yeah.
What happens in that relief?
So that relief it relates to the egress stair that's coming from dropping down from above.
Okay,
So the tenants would exit out of it between the two townhouses.
so am I seeing a little polymetal door in between there?
Yeah, I thought, yes. It goes back to the flat elevation.
wait, who uses that? The
If we're
townhouse?
going to see-
Bowl?
No,
Everybody.
the three through four, or the upper floors. That's their second means of egress, in case of,
Okay,
they also can access the parking garage from that stair as well.
okay, got it. Okay, I don't have anything further. Any commissioners, other comments, questions, concerns? Yes, please.
Just to talk about brake metal a bit, and the gauge maybe. That's something that often comes up, that if brake metal goes up and it's too thin,
It won't. Yeah, we most definitely wouldn't want that. In the applications that we've done an 18 gauge, which has not had the oil can effect on it. And also, if you break it down into different sections too, where you get a line, it helps strengthen the brake metal as well. So we probably am not showing in detail, but we could have a brake metal seam down the middle here to align with the mullion to give some rigidity, up in the vertical as well. So we have done that as well. Typically work with the brake metal fabricator, different types of detailing.
Finding brake metal was a big issue for me in my previous life doing a project for H&M and stuff. So, we'll make sure there's no real pinning and dimples. That was. the
Do you need a,
scenario.
do you need a detail of that?
I don't think so. I mean, I trust them.
Okay.
What they say they're gonna do.
Anything else?
It'll probably be on your
It'll-
CDs anyway.
It'll be on the CD document too, Lois. Yeah.
Okay.
And anything else building related? Doesn't sound like it. Any chance we're gonna touch the landscape at all here? Anything that we haven't addressed?
Not in this meeting. We can come back with the landscape plan.
Okay.
Okay.
That'd be
Yeah.
fine.
And I'm happy to do that.
That'd be great.
Nice to see some giant street trees out there on High Street and
Totally understand. Agreed. Yep.
piecemeal our way
Code does require that.
down there. Yeah, big one's good. Glad to hear it.
Well, they're street trees. I don't know about.
There's also the fund bonus requirement.
That's right. Thank you. Okay, can I hear a motion then? I think we've had a good conversation. I was unaware that this is visit 7, but I take your word for it.
Move to accept pending variance return and the landscaping return.
Thank you. Can I have a second, please?
I will second that.
Second, thank you. Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you all.
Thanks for bringing in the windows for our,
You're not taking it home?
thank you.
It's very helpful.
Thanks for being flexible, you guys.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
Can I clarify that, the discussion about windows?
Oh, I should have included it.
So would you like an amendment or?
We should just for the record.
Okay, so the amendment, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, states that floors 1 and 2 have the Windsor window, and from 3 up has the, thank you, the Lindsay window. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we need to re-motion that?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, can I?
So moved. That the recommendation be amended with the window specifications.
Second, please.
Sorry. I
Do we
missed that.
need to include in that new motion ideas about the landscape coming back?
I think we
All
told
the
them.
variances?
I think we told them.
Yeah, we,
Well, does it need to be? on-
so windows, landscape,
Yeah.
All together, yes.
variances,
Yes.
all together in our new amended Frankenstein motion. Thank you. This has been a charming day so far.
It's all my fault. I'm sorry.
I don't think so. Okay.
Nice to get off of that.
Okay, can I have, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? Thank you, motion passes, amended. Wow, this is challenging
I know
today.
it's hard to
I'm
be,
not good at
hard to be
that.
the lead. And Connie, you'll follow up with them so they know that we amended after they left.
Yeah.
Hopefully they won't have a
There's
problem with that.
Okay. Welcome. Connie, where are we in, what number are we?
This is the fourth and final application. This is the conceptual review still. We're calling it 142 West Whitaker Street. This is for new construction, a little bit different than the last review. July, those revisions to the previous conceptual review include the 5-building development is now reduced to 3. The total units throughout the development has been reduced from 975 to 780. It may have made a few changes since I got this too, but the materials on the project have been altered to address the concerns regarding the industrial history of the site. Walk-up units and exterior stairs have been added to address ground conditions. And trellis screening has been added to the parking garage, along with built-up landscape elements and benches. So provide comments for conceptual review, no action required.
Great, thank you, Connie. Welcome. Can I swear you in, please? Raise your right hand. Do you promise to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Jeff Brown, I'm the attorney, the applicant with Smith and Dale.
Mike Suriano with MBPJ.
Good to see you.
This process has been evolving. If you might remember, we started this probably 2 years ago and then it stalled. We were able this summer to get this back on track. And so what you're seeing here is the results of the prior conversations and the lunch meeting that we had with the commission. And so I'm gonna let Mike, because he can do it better than I can, just go through the architecture. What we're looking for and trying to get is at the next meeting, we would like to get a recommendation on the variance. We originally filed a zoning and a variance, and I think probably based on this, I'll consult with the city, but I think we'll probably end up with just a council variance for the use, which would be residential, as well as maybe a parking reduction. So, but I will meet with the zoning staff and we'll have a list of Donnie for the next meeting. And then what we hope to find from you is when we get to November, we'd like to hear that you're comfortable, so as we move forward, we can get a very good idea on November in terms of the design layout, that this is something that you all would support when we come back with the final details.
I apologize, I missed the business meeting. Can you explain the variances a little bit?
This property is zoned in manufacturing, which allows anything under the zoning code but residential. So initially, we had filed a rezoning because we were thinking this was going to be more of a mixed-use development initially. So we were rezoning it to CBD with a council variance to allow the residential. Now what we're showing is pure residential, although we've talked to the city, and because we're doing this in phases, there's an opportunity if something changes, like one of the buildings could become an office building in the future, and the M manufacturing would allow that. So I think when we take this and review with the zoning staff, I think we'll probably come back to you with just a council variance for the use of maybe some variances to the development standards.
And when you say phase 1, is it still a 5-building model or is it a 3-building?
No, it's 3 buildings.
So it's phase 1 within the 3 buildings?
Yes,
Some
phase
subset of 3
1,
buildings.
we have 3 phases. Each phases would be an individual building.
And tell me about the parking variance.
The parking, the city code would require 1.5 spaces per unit, and we're at 1.34.
Okay. Doesn't seem like space is an issue. That's why I was curious.
Right, but I mean, it's a technical issue with the city that we would have to address.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Mike, do you want to slideshow us through here?
Sure.
You
Can
tell
I
us where to
fix it,
go.
or do I just? So yes, we thought that given the change from last time, Cynthia, as you noted, it was a 5-building previously. And you'll see that we now are at 3 buildings, which I think are kind of condensing it a little bit. And we're also obviously in floodplain, so this is that was one of the issues as well. So just working around that. I think some comments from the last time. There are generally some questions around the history of the site and how we're utilizing and moving around the project. So we just wanted to review all that kind of thinking with you conceptually in anticipation that we come back. So we didn't want all this to be new information for the next time that we saw you. So just looking we tried to kind of identify, it's a very unique spot, certainly in the city, and how this has been developed historically. It was really interesting that I don't need to go into a ton of detail here, but in and around the site, just being driven by the canal and the railway, obviously, as Jeff indicated, just around the kind of industrial and warehouse nature of what's been there. We all, some of us remember the impound lot that was there. Well, obviously looks a lot different today in terms of the activity and what we're trying to promote as a city. And so I think this development certainly wants to feed into that. This is just the historical rail and canal locations on the site. And this is important only because I think we're looking at this conceptually as a way to kind of build in terms of the site flows and generally the shape of some of the site conditions that we're trying to address. This gives you an indication of, this is a FEMA flood map. This is important just because it really does limit, building in a floodplain comes with a lot of restrictions and what we can do on the ground floor. I know that that question came up in the last meeting, and so we have some ideas around how we're trying to address that, both with the podium condition, screening, some landscape additionally, and certainly how we're looking at pedestrians at the ground floor. Just a note of the ecologies that exist on the site. I think we have sugar maple stands and just the amount of species and birds that are indicated is pretty significant. And generally how we're thinking about development and what we're doing for this brownfield and greenfield. Obviously, you all are familiar with the Audubon Center and what we're trying to promote in terms of highly active public and friendly urban environments. Very unique sites. This is kind of an aerial view from the southwest here.
We've been meeting and keeping the Metro Park people involved in this and aware, and I have another conversation with the director tomorrow just to bring them up to date. He has a copy of these documents, and we're just going to walk through like we're doing with you.
And these are just some elevated views from 150 feet down to 50 feet. Just gives you an indication of the breadth of the site and certainly what it looks like comparatively between pictures. I know in our office, we call it seasonal interest in terms of what the landscape gives us. So from a master planning standpoint, very simply, we're looking at really leveraging the site shape and the property is an interesting footprint, right? We've got this pedestrian connection at the north, and then it kind of narrows down into this wedge shape. And so one of the strategies in moving from a 5-building to a 3-building was, number one, to kind of concentrate some of the development, limit the amount of work that we're doing in the floodplain just from an engineering standpoint, and then look at how to situate them based on what makes the most sense. So the footprint of the building actually is efficient in terms of the podium design, in terms of the parking that exists at the podium level. And then you'll see as we start to move up into the building that the shapes start to address, more spatially as you move up through the building. I just indicate that we are looking at a detention basin at the center as a kind of feature for the project, and some tiered public space in there as well, and that's kind of in development. So just a quick note around the phased construction, and there was a question around that. So we're looking at potentially 3 phases. Each phase is a self-similar element. So we're kind of, as we get further into the refinement of the elevations and materials and the forms of the building, the idea is that we have about 250 units. I think we have 220,000 gross square feet of residential above that podium. We're getting about 350 spaces per each one of those white blocks. And then additionally, for each one, there's 5,000 square feet of amenity and shared space for the buildings. So previously, this is what I was noting before. You can kind of see each one of those elements as they kind of situate themselves on the site. We've been kind of trying to understand what the, number one, how the forms start to address some of the industrial materials that came up last time, or ways to kind of evoke those ideas. Additionally, how the buildings can also, this is a 5/1 wood frame on top of a concrete podium. Different ways that the buildings could move and interact on top of that podium to start to create some interesting figural space, both on top of the podium for the amenities to kind of spill out onto, but also, something that would work at the overall scale of the development and start to work together as these buildings start to shape different types of environments. This gives you an indication of the way that we're thinking of the buildings individually. So again, we've been looking at different types of material expressions. Potentially they could be consistent across across all three phases. Potentially they could start to change in color or change in aspect. But largely we've got these kind of 7 or L shapes that stitch together. You can see those green spaces on top of the podium that we perceive or we think of as outdoor public space that, again, those units on those floors can look onto, we can develop, and that serve as, common amenity spaces as well. And then going through some of the architecture, again, this is something we're still working through and developing, but how we're pulling in different types, shades, and kind of formations of brick. I think a lot can be done through the detailing. We are also trying to look at different medium for green walls at the garage. Understanding that pedestrian environment was really paramount for you all, and thinking about how that can work with that environment. So as we look at this, there are different options. There's certainly physical green wall, but there's also ways of planting and having a grow medium behind it to allow that to happen. Different types of balcony arrangements, we're still trying to understand that from a perspective of how many units get balconies, are they inboard, are they outboard, et cetera. So
Is the darker color down the middle the common space? Or
are
those units as well?
Those are units or views back to the corridors. I think what we're trying to do is really create some relief in areas where it's.
That's why I was curious, because they're so different from the others.
Yeah.
That's a combination.
So it is a combination. One thing to note too, we're looking at different ways that we can perch the building. So it's a little bit difficult to see in this image, but you can tell that some of the building pieces drop to the second level of the podium to start to create, putting building elements as close to the ground as we can. We cannot do anything on that first level, but outside of garage lobbies. But we are looking at different ways to kind of pull the buildings down into the podium, so it's not just a very singular datum at that second story. And then just some indications of the way we've started to think of landscape design and components for the project. Again, really trying to utilize, I think there's a grove, again, that central common space with the kind of detention feature and tiered public spaces. Some different flows. I know there were comments last time around access. So primary access is from the south on Whittier from a vehicular standpoint. We are able to circulate around all of the buildings in each phase. So that was, I know. And then watershed and flow is moving from northwest to southeast. And just some rough plans of the parking garage. Again, long span design that we're trying to make efficient and then break down as we work those buildings on top. But it gives us a great kind of template to work from as we look at different opportunities for the buildings up at the top. And again, those units kind of moving down access from the exterior. Just ways that we're thinking about the plan. Cynthia, this is that indication of some of those relief. I think that one portion you do have back
amenities.
Yeah. I think that might be the last slide. Leave it to you all for comments and questions.
Who takes care of the floodplain dimensions and make sure the engineering is right for that? Is that city engineer?
Yes, the public utilities has a floodplain section.
And they have to review and
They have to review and approve. Craig Fentner is is the point person.
I don't think I've been part of a hearing that had that before, so I was curious.
Mike, in our, just for a point of clarity, in the presentation we have about 10 more slides, you know, kind of photo reel and benchmark imagery. You don't have to refer to it if you don't like to. I just let you know that it's there.
Is there any way to? It's not.
Just a little kind of clarifying question. So we have 2 floors of parking. 1 floor residential comes down in certain specific.
In certain spots.
Okay.
We're looking at that as a design feature. You can actually see it, I think in one of the plans, there was kind of yellow sawtooth. You can see it in this image too, where we're accessing that unit, not from the backside, but really from the front.
So this is a 5/2 building?
Yes.
Okay. And where does the floodplain hit on the building?
I think everything has to be plus 8 feet.
So the whole first floor is in the floodplain, which is driving the garage issue. And then from there up, we can be residential, commercial, whatever we need.
That's correct.
Do you think if one of the buildings becomes all office, that the architectural expression will change, or are you gonna try and keep it the same?
It's a great question. I think that largely because the residential, the width are established, it would be a thinner. If it did go to an office, I think it would be probably something that we would want to study. The width of that bar is geared towards residential. So likely if it were office, it might get a little bit wider.
Yeah.
And then at what point does it not work? So I think we probably have to look at that formally. I think it would be interesting to see how we could maintain it and still maintain some of the affect that we have on top of the podium, but,
The difference might be nice.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm personally trying to wrestle with pretty stamped out, you know, monolith building. By the way, of course, it's attractive. I like it. But 3 of them is a different question. So I don't really, you know that I've formed an opinion other than a question mark.
If they all stayed residential, what is, I mean, I'm not gonna hold you to it, I'm just kind of curious.
Sure.
What does WBJ want to do? Do you want to keep it all the same, or do you want to mix it up?
I think this is something like, if we establish, like, with the formal language of the footprint, that gives us, I think, some different opportunities in terms of space making, but I don't know that it's tied to a specific material language. So the fact that if they were all the same, I think when you look at these images, there's enough of a breakdown in terms of the overall aesthetic that I think it can still work. However, I wouldn't say that we would be locked into, like, you know, this part is brick and this part is metal. I mean, seeing what kind of color opportunities we have to kind of work at variation around. I mean, obviously from a massing standpoint, we've made some decisions with regard to what's brick, what's metal panel. So I think that there's probably some consistency within the footprint of each one of those that has, you know, we're not just going to wallpaper it differently all the way around. But I could see from phase to phase there being some complementary, you know, material choices while still keeping the same footprint.
Yeah. Can you maybe click through some of those ladder slides and just talk a little bit about how the building hits the ground and what your thoughts are on that? And I'll, you know, one preview of a thought I'm gonna have is, you know, I'd kind of like to see the building rendered with the, you know, Lumion ivy turned off. Just for obvious reasons.
Sure.
So maybe you could just talk about the ground floor, parking garage level, building entry, pedestrian experience, understanding that we're sympathetic. This thing has to sit on a podium.
Sure.
So
yeah, and I
get
think
that.
Part of that, Jeff, is getting to where those moments are that come down into the podium like this. We are accessing 1 or 2 units from that I'll call it perch as they kind of, you know, come down. That starts to break up both the length and of the podium. In between those areas, we do have moments of entry.
Mhm.
And then, depending on how you're accessing, if we're coming into the garage. And then I think the green wall that you noted, the ivy wall, that right now is the infill. What that grow medium looks like behind it, whether it's is it a metal, lattice or whatever it ends up being, is it, I think we need to think on, just
Yeah,
transparent, we have to think through that a little bit more.
yeah,
I would also say that from a pedestrian standpoint, we do have, I think there's a section in here that shows how the landscape may start to come up into those areas, and we actually shape it in the Z dimension to start to get some parameters and, seating elements, bermed landscape that start to bring that dimension down between the top of the podium and ground level.
yeah.
That would be really nice.
I think that's a great idea. I think, there's, not every building has to look like it belongs in the short north or the brewery district or whatever, meaning traditional and classical and whatnot. But, those moments where you have those stair ramps come down,
Yeah,
that could be a sort of real modern dialogue about landscape that's not just glued to the earth, right? So there could be some more opportunity to like blow those things up, make them bigger,
yeah.
more expression, something like that.
There's something conceptually to me that's really interesting about these. I know that how to make these feel, I keep using the term perch, but how they in a floodplain is truly like we're trying to elevate, as much as we can. So the podium's very heavy, so how do we lighten it and make these feel like they're touching the ground in certain areas that convey that
Yeah.
idea. Back to Jeff's original point, though, I think using some sort of green screen wall, it's fine. I can't believe that we can rely on it for yards on end.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, if Jerry were here, he would love to point out, and this is no offense to MBBJ, because you guys know I'm a fan, the garage at Grange, across from the park, was supposed to be this green wall. And there were a lot of us that were very excited about that for whatever reason.
yeah, I think Bill's brought it up the past 2 years.
Yeah, right. So it sort of lives in infamy among, folks who've been on the board for a while. So,
So if we wanted to offer MBBJ advice there, what would we say?
well, I think I'm sympathetic to this because we can't like activate the ground floor like we, like to say that we do. We can't bring residential down to the ground floor. We can't just dress it up because it is a parking area.
Right.
So I just think you have to work at it. I love your Z dimension. Let's lift up the earth a little bit.
Yeah.
I think we should see the building without the ivy. I mean, for me, trees are forever, nothing else. Ivy dies, shrubs die. So, that would be a, way to bring me along here is to, let's make sure that when the ivy goes away or there's a new owner and they have a different idea about plant material, that the thing still holds up.
Yeah, I think your strategy at Gravity was a good example. It's a mix of public art, green wall, architecture, and I think that starts to break up the mix. So I think to me, that would make sense as maybe a starting.
I guess I want to sort of take it one step further and also ask a potentially inappropriate rude question. One step further, given that this is an opportunity in the middle of this gigantic field, right, with some constraints that we get, I would rather see, and I think there's openness to this, rather see you get really interesting and creative. So it doesn't have to be monolithic block. It could be idiosyncratic in places. And I think I'm hearing some of that in some of the feedback. So I'd like to see you push it. That's just me.
In
That's
terms of the
design.
overall.
Yeah. Idiosyncratic in events or moments as well as overall. I'm open to either way.
Site
we have-
and building.
Yeah, you have an unusual opportunity. We have an amazing opportunity here to do something really interesting. And which leads me to my second question. And because I'm fundamentally maybe an architectural historian by training, but I'm also a business person, probably first and foremost. I always worry when we have a monolithic project in 3 phases that we could be stuck with 1 phase. So I'm worried, I guess I want reassurance that you have done that your owner, whoever, has done the market research necessary. We believe that people will come. We have a plan if we're only building 1 building. You don't have to tell me about that today, but I would like to understand that to be reassured that we think that this is actually going to lease and that we're going to be able to do all three buildings, because if not, we should be just looking at one,
Sure.
and then the second one, you know what I mean? I don't want to overcommit, because the last thing I want is one sort of steamship or ocean liner sitting out on this vast plain that just looks like a big box out there.
Sure.
Another way to say that is,
Perhaps a better way?
no, I mean, no, not better.
Yeah.
I'm just, if this is just something to think about. If you're gonna come in with a phase one project, we need a full phase one site, not just building pads to come in the future. So I think
Right.
there is
It has to work on its own.
there's a growth here, yeah.
Yeah, and only because this is so big and it's so unusual for the site. We haven't seen this work before. We don't know if it will work.
And we've been burned on this exact sort of
Yes.
thing in the past year.
Yes. So I want to be reassured that whatever we do, even if we stop at building one, it's going to be added to in a great way for the site.
So you're suggesting also just understanding the full build out, what the site looks like at phase one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In addition to phase three.
Too.
I hope you heard, we're enthusiastic. We want
Yeah.
it to work. We want it to be a statement that NBBG and the owner can be proud of. We just,
Yeah, agree. Sun architecture,
not for me.
black mass.
It's too early.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. Is that in fact stormwater? In the triangular pond, or is that decorative water?
No, that's.
Stormwater in the stormwater storage in the floodplain.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thing in the city of Columbus.
So-
And the state, to be honest.
Agreed.
Yeah.
That will be a challenge.
Meaning you won't get approved?
You just typically,
Well, no, it has to be raised up.
you typically don't store stormwater in the
Gross?
floodplain.
Okay. Is there an alternative?
Well, I mean, they're the, no, they'll have to tell
Are
us.
we asking them for an alternative?
No,
Those are all,
those are questions to be answered.
Okay.
You know, the Corps of Engineers. and
I think this is
through the
also
city.
a design question. So
We are ultimately going to have to get, just went through this, doing a project in Giga, we're ultimately gonna have to get a floodplain permit
Yeah,
in addition to. building
Yeah.
permit.
maybe
The
a
other thing is-
EPA waiver, is that what it is?
Yeah.
I think so.
The city staff asked for a traffic study, which we have done and submitted for them to review. I don't know if the commission is interested in that.
sure.
I'm sure the site can handle a couple cars.
Yeah, not so worried. It's just like the parking areas. It's like, but,
Yeah.
okay.
Any other comments or questions? I'm
I'm just
Like-
curious, just in that podium level, there is nothing that's like no like chairs, people sitting, nothing is possible just to activate that space a little bit.
It's a great question. We have a threshold that we can't go below. So what happens? We can look further into it. My understanding was that we were extremely limited in what can go there. So
Seems like if.
in terms of something built, whether you could take it, have something in the second level of the podium that's, occupiable, I don't know.
Seems like if it's insured a little bit, created some activity,
Sure.
the scale of the building,
So maybe they could come back with some thoughts.
that would be great, yeah.
great.
So, yeah, if you go to the site plan, just clarifying on the park side. Yeah, right there. So is that a roadway in the space between the building and the Metro Park? Or is that pedestrian, or what's the kind of dialogue between the project and the park?
Yeah, I believe that is right now intended to be pedestrian. I can't recall from this diagram if we had, so we went through several iterations if we did have vehicular access, but I don't believe there is between that and the park.
Okay. I mean, I think I'm most concerned about that edge in particular.
Sure.
I think part of my concern is the kind of monolithic massing right along the park. And I personally would like to see you break that down into a couple buildings and get some sort of porosity between the park and your public space there. And I think, I can kind of buy the bigger buildings along the railroad because you got that right across the tracks on the other
Sure.
side. So I get that. But I think that phase 3 really needs to be thought through of how that interfaces with the park, because that's going to be the first impression everyone's gonna have, so I think that's really critical.
Great. Thank you.
Great.
Appreciate it.
Thank you
Thanks for the update.
Yeah, it's great to be there.
Gracious of you to say so.
Yes. Right. Thanks for playing along. Okay, Connie, I think that's our final application for review today, correct?
Yeah, I do have one old business,
Please.
but I thought I could, it's not on there.
Okay.
I thought maybe I could just stab it through it, but then since we're having this meeting, I thought I would ask you. The Southwind Motel.
Sure. How could we forget?
Vividly, it's going up now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when people see this,
No.
what does that do with color? So this is basically what the colors were initial and when something, I think when the sign was approved. Blue door, blue-green doors, black railings. That's basically it. And then this is the overhangs here. They're kind of a.
You're
cream-
inside the courtyard.
the
right?
cream color, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is this the folder?
No. it-
No.
But then when they finally, got approval for colors, the railings were all gonna be white. And then there was gonna be white trim around the doors. And so, yeah, so actually they're asking if they can just go back to this.
Wait, we approved all white,
Yeah.
white and white?
Yeah.
Okay.
We did?
Yeah.
All right.
And the reason for that was because of the test case or whatever.
Out the window?
The windows were gonna be white. And they're still gonna be, actually, it's better now because they found that they can use the existing aluminum frames that are there and just put screens in there. Instead of putting all new aluminum screens on there. But anyway,
Okay.
so they're asking, can they just go back to black railings,
Yes.
black stair, and the greenish doors with no white trim around
Have
it?
you checked out the redone windows?
No, I haven't.
Is that something you need to do? Or since they're using existing, we have, we're going to go with it?
I mean, they're keeping what's there, what's original. I think that's better.
This, I just don't know what really looks.
Yeah, I can meet them out there.
I remember going back to black.
I'm happy.
White would turn gray. So.
Yeah, okay.
Great. You need a motion or anything, or you just staff approve it?
Staff approve, I don't have to be there.
Thank you. Okay, anything further this evening?
It's been fun.
Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.